A quick introduction to paintbrushes, starting off with the shapes. This one is called a flat, another flat, different shape, it's narrower, and it's also flat. This is called a filbert, another filbert, and two rounds. These four are used for oils. These two are used for watercolors. People often ask, why can't I use a watercolor brush for oils? Why can't I use an oil brush for watercolors? Well, you can. You can use a watercolor brush for oils, but you cannot use an oil brush for watercolors. They function in very different ways. You could use a Sable brush for both. This brush here, it's a very soft Sable. So is this. But there's a functional difference. There's two actual differences. The shape of this allows for water to pass through the tip here and be stored here. This is the reservoir. And when it's wet, this is pointy, and it just basically comes out at the tip like a pen. Or if you press down on it, the whole thing just discharges at the same time. Now, a Sable for oil is somewhat different. There isn't as much of a reservoir. You can see here it's very thin at the side. So there's not a lot of storage going in terms of liquids gathering there and holding medium in place. Most of the work happens up here at the tip. Why would you use Sable for oils? Well, it is very, very delicate. See that? It's very soft. So this is extremely good for thin layers of colour going down on the surface, where you're using a lot of medium. You can use a watercolour brush, such as this, for oils. But it's not recommended to go backwards once you've done that. Once it's been used for oils, it should always be used for oils and nothing else. These two are a different shape. This is a flat, and this one has a lot of resistance, as you can see. That will push the paint onto the surface of the canvas and into the grains. It's a natural hog hair, shouldn't be cleaned with water or soap, it should only be cleaned in turpentine. Otherwise, the ends will split and it will just deteriorate very quickly. Always mark your natural hog hairs with some kind of indication. In this case, I've covered it with red paint so that I can't confuse it with a synthetic. This is a synthetic flat. It looks like a hog hair. It has great resistance. That'll do exactly the same thing. It just won't last as long. The hairs will eventually split. You can wash it in water and you can use soap, it's no problem at all. But eventually these hairs will just break down just from rubbing on the surface. The capillary reaction between the fibers isn't quite as good as natural hog hair. This is just better. You'll get a better flow. And it will last a lot longer as well. Another advantage of the Sable over synthetic is Sables don't get split ends the way synthetics do. This is a synthetic, which has only been used for a very short while, but you can see that it's breaking down already. These are the split ends I'm talking about. It was a nice brush to use for the first 3 or 4 days, but then you could see this beginning to happen. This natural brush, this natural Sable, will last for years. It will break down eventually, but it will break down because of the amount of pressure I'm putting on the hairs. They will just snap off eventually. And if I don't clean it very carefully each time I use it, then you'll get a crust of oil building up here, and that will cause these to split as well, just to fall out. So cleaning your brush is very important. You can clean these in turpentine or water with soap. This synthetic filbert I've used for several months, and it's still pretty good. But if you look closely, you can see that there's a little bit of splitting happening in the ends. And it will be good for a good few more paintings, but it's on its way out. The last thing most people want to know is what brands are you using. This Sable is a caliche, and it's made in Ireland. It's distributed in the United States though. Let's see if we can see the name. Yep. So that brush will last for a very, very long time. It's really, really good. That's why Sable, though more expensive than most, is well worth it. This synthetic filbert, it's made by Isabey. It's a French brand. I-S-A-B-E-Y. It's very good. Expensive, good. This, I've had this for so long that the logo's gone. It's probably a caliche, but it's Sable as well, and extremely good. The thing about good Sable with watercolors is that there's a far greater chance of me losing this than it ever stopping working. I love the Sable with watercolors. I'd never buy a synthetic one. This one is made by a group called Marin, or really it's actually supplied by a group called Marin. That's in France as well. And this one I don't actually know. There's no logo on it. Just a great brush. Bought it when I was doing a course. So there you go. I hope that was useful as an introduction to how paintbrushes work, and if you do come to Tuscany plein air course and workshops, that you can more easily choose which tools to bring with you.